Hey, what's going on there on Earth? I'm assuming Earth, and but you could be watching this from a nearby uh, space ottoman or space lawn chair or pretty much any astrally based piece of furniture. What up to Scott? First in the chat room today. Ah, it's been a week. It's been a week there on terra firma, hasn't it? I get news up here in space, and wow. Um, but what better way to sort of get back to home base, center yourself, than with a little space couch? And there wouldn't be any space couch without this week's wonderful sponsor. It's a Tiger Squawk Records. Who would have ever guessed? Featuring Freak on the Inside from Night Terror out of Roanoke. Goth rock, so good. Acided from Chicago. Crazy Noise Jam. The Agony of a Year Without End. The Gothsicles versus Everything Goes Cold. Gasoline Invertebrates Healmore EP is out right now. You want to check out Beta Virus's single I Am Air. It's electric. Critically Drunk from Norway's Industrial. It's really funny. Dark Forest 1 and 2 from Club Ovator out of Victoria. Thanksgiving's own Squawksgiving 2020. Um, and the Sad Christmas album from Australia's Iserly. All that and more available at tigersquawkrecords.bandcamp.com. Speaking of Canada, what is up to Neil Dobson in the chat room? And I say this every week. You know I do, and it's always true. But speaking of things I say every week, or should have, I forgot the catchphrase. Call the spaceships to Davenport, prepare for Devanarchy, and interface with a couch in space. What's up to More Death, Boston in the house, Sarah Durbin on the scene, because you know how it's been. And I am just over the moon, pun intended, to talk to today's guest. Friend for a long time, and I've been a fan for even longer. So this is going to be great. Uh, let's just jump right into it, man, because I'm excited. Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Marcus, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, Ron, how are you?
I am wonderful, to be perfectly honest.
Oh,
Um,
I was really sad that you left Earth. I thought
yeah,
that
yeah,
was,
I miss it, every now and then, but
yeah.
I
It felt
figured,
premature, but now I feel like it was probably a pretty
yeah.
good choice.
Oh man, the card sort of fell my way on that one, but I was missing all my friends and contacts and superstars from back home, but now we got Space Couch to fill in the void. Uh, no voids to fill in for you though, because 2020 was seems to have been. Don't let me put words in your mouth. A pretty awesome year for you. New videos for Free State, Out of the Fire, Ghosts of the Earth, and Dirty Fucking Pretty,
Nice.
all of which are uh, pretty, pardon the pun, stellar. Um, did you just have a big drive to get some videos done this year?
I'm just happy because I got you to swear. I don't really hear you swear very often, so that felt actually felt really good. No, no, this year's actually it hasn't been super productive because the idea was to finish all these videos and then to get the album out, you know.
Hmm.
And this album at the end of last year kind of had the idea for this album, and I really wanted to get out this year. I felt like it would be a good time, but then there's no time that felt good in this
Mm,
year no matter what. So
right.
I kind of felt like I was able to get some singles out. I was able to work with some really great people. I feel like the story got fleshed out. You know, I
Hmm.
have people working with
Oh,
me that I'm really excited by.
is it a
All the
narrative?
stories. Well, the idea is that this is the first concept record I've ever done, and I feel really stupid, because I'm not Pink Floyd, but I felt like I wanted to tell a story about elitism and basically the fact that we live in a country that's uh, a giant Calvinistic cult. We seem to think that work equals freedom,
Hmm.
and that without work we have no virtue, and it's okay to work under duress. And I wanted to find a way to communicate these without it being overly heavy-handed. So I created this gigantically, apparently heavy-handed analogy of the mecha disco, which is this future where all of the wealthy people leave the planet, and the only ones left behind are the poor who are conscripted to work in this giant disco that the entire planet's turned into for
Wow.
oxygen and food and for everything like that. So it became this giant concept thing, and the more I talked with my friends about it, the storyline got bigger, and it kind of started when Stephen Archer and Donald Lynch were in town,
Hmm.
and I was talking to them about this idea. And that was the very first time I talked about this idea of a disco that covered the entire planet where everyone was forced to work. And then Donna put down like a little vocal thing that kind of I used as the beginning of this entire thing.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. But it was like I really wanted to get it out this year, and there's something weird. I'm sure you've noticed this too, where it's like I'm not on a major label anymore, and so I don't really have a reason where I have to put a record out.
Hmm.
So if it's not perfect, I don't have an excuse anymore. You
It
know?
is nice to have a sort of your hands on the wheel in that way.
Yeah.
Uh, I
There
want
used to be
to.
this excuse where it's like, I had to put that out. It's my contract. Where I
Right.
don't. Right. So if it's not right, if it's not finished, I don't really have to put it out.
Morta says you got Jim to wear a NASA shirt for space. Thank you so much. The
Yeah, I thought it's
Dr-
appropriate.
that's super appropriate. Dre is in the place, and Brett Lawrence says it sounds like an awesome Canon film. You know I'm a fan of those Canon movies. Let's take a look at some of these videos. We'll do that now. If I space controller fell asleep. Like I said, we'll do that now.
Feel the streets and feel the air. It's a healing season. We want it to be like that. We need it to be like that. So go down, so go down, so go. Ready to be and made to be. Simple on a fashion. Living to be slow this time, it will be televised. Deep breath and baby will be serialized. I can't sleep this moment just like you been born at the end of put your body in a uniform. You think you're free now? You think you got away? You think you're free now? Out of the fire, 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 out of the fire. Still burning, burning, still burning, burning. With a chill of the ghosts of yesterday. We can't breathe, we can't sing. With a piece of the distant past. Follow away the sound. People not made to laugh. Yeah, on the coast of the earth, I can feel that blood with my feet in the dirt. I can hear that ball losing the beat of the song. When I close my eyes, they are gone.
And we are back. Pretty amazing work. We'll get into those. We got you at home can't hear the mini conversation we have, but I just wanted to share it because it was kind of fascinating. You may obviously there's a lot of this. This is your window into the mecha disco, and everyone at home can check out those videos now on YouTube or the Go Fight Bandcamp. But you were telling me you thought that's how the Matrix films might end, and you told that to the Wachowskis.
Well, when a long time ago, when because the Wachowskis are Chicagoans,
Okay.
they're great Chicagoans,
I
and
wasn't aware of
we've
that.
been talking about, their studios like in Ravenswood, and we've been talking about some ideas like way before a long time ago when they were beginning work on this, and I really felt like there's a model for what was supposed to happen in the Matrix, and I really wanted what I wanted to have happen was this idea that the AI was giving humans something to fight for, and
Right.
then at the end, basically like lost to them intentionally, and allow the humans to become owners of their own fate again. And as they
Right.
got out of these chambers, they'd realize that they'd been under a long time, and the Earth was green again.
Which would have been a fascinating way to do it. And you share some sort of like a sound designer with them or something like
Oh,
that.
no, our engineer Paul Mano, that we worked with for a long time, who's really amazing, moved on to be their technical director.
On the Matrix movies.
Well, in their studio.
Oh, okay, okay,
So
that's
he works
amazing.
he works in their studio. And the last time we were there, I was like, we were trying to keep the kids from, like, do not steal an Emmy or a Grammy, or I'm sorry, don't touch the awards, don't touch don't touch the motorcycles from the Matrix. But the truth is, I mean, they're great people, and I the last thing I want to do is be a critic. But you know what? It's really fun being a critic.
Yeah.
And there's no downside to it. So, and no one can sit there and say, make your own damn movie. But what I wanted to do with Mechadisco was have this idea that, because they get put in suspended animation between work sessions, because the Mechadisco thinks that people aren't worth anything if they're not working, they don't realize how long that they've been under. And the Earth has gone back to its primal state when they finally escape.
That's pretty
So
awesome.
I thought that would be sort of my homage to how I felt like the Matrix should have ended.
That's amazing.
help?
Thank you for that that little parabolic tangent. I didn't know you had a connection to the
Yeah.
Wachowskis. The videos themselves are pretty mega crisp. Can you tell me about the production of those?
So what was weird is that we're in the middle of a pandemic, right? And so
Yeah.
the idea was, can I get these ideas across, shooting whatever I can in my studio, shooting in other people's places that they'll let me go in with a mask or whatever, shooting people individually, shooting robots, which, by the way, robots are not a COVID risk. So you could shoot as many robots as you want.
Okay.
Collaborate with as many robots as you want. Really, it's perfectly okay.
Awesome. Okay. Cool.
As long as you wipe them down, they're
No social distancing required.
yeah, no. And then get some stock footage in, and then do some 3D work around that and everything.
So that's you doing all the work there?
Well, it's a combination of shooting stuff, me doing some 3D stuff,
Wow, man.
some stock footage here and there, some shooting robots, and then shooting dancers. And then what I was trying to do with the videos is, the Mechadisco is going on so long that it's breaking down. And so what happens is that every generation in the video of the dancers are getting more extreme, until finally it's the holographic dancers at the end. And then the videos themselves are becoming glitchier as the time goes on. So it's like,
Oh, wow. Okay.
breaking down, and it starts very calmly with this dirty fucking pretty environment where one of the AI robots realizes how beautiful humans are, and decides to help them, and then ends with Free State, where they finally escape. And then there's one final song on the album that is kind of a twist that comes after that.
All
But
right.
there's a Blu-ray that comes with the album too.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. You are, I mean, this is going to sound silly because you're Jim Marcus, living legend, but you are just a ball of talent. I was blown away by the quality of those videos. So, Mecha Disco is not yet released unto the world. That's still being made.
No, it's very close to being finished, but I don't feel like it's quite there yet. It's
Okay.
a couple of, the thing is, the problem is it's big. It's a couple of records, and it's a Blu-ray.
Oh, wow.
There's a booklet that comes with it.
Oh, it's an experience.
Yeah, and it's really hard not to feel stupid. When you're doing like a concept record and you're like, I'm not Pink Floyd. What am I, fucking doing? But you want to do something that is coherent, where nothing falls down, right? Where someone can't say, "Hey, I noticed on page 34 of the book that blah blah blah," and that's what I'm trying to do.
It happens.
Yeah.
Well, how's it feeling? Like, are the tracks that are out now indicative of the direction you took on this?
They are. It's a much more techno record
Dope,
than the one
dope.
before. And so the guys in the band and we've already talked about the album after this, about where to move after this.
Oh, you're
And-
wow.
Because you want every record to sound. This. You want every record to have its own
Totally.
life. And I know that I'm not sure how you work, but we write 100 songs and then 12 or
Wow.
13 make it to the record, right? And then they get produced in a way that makes them all fit together in a way, right? So
Mhm.
everything on the first Go Fight record is very skeletal and very um, kind of sharp edged, and it's very minimal in a lot of ways. It's as minimal as it can get. And then for Napalm Baby, we wanted to kind of make it kind of a futuristic pop record, and so it goes in a slightly different direction, but it's got the drums are maybe a little bit smaller. It's a little more melodic. With American Jihadi, which is our third record, the whole idea was make the most American record we can possibly make.
Hmm.
Right? And so if you listen to it, it's basically a country western record in a lot
Okay.
of
Oh, really?
places. Yeah. And all the songs from that have a country western sort of vibe. Most of the songs were written on guitar, and
Hmm.
they started in a very twangy sort of thing, like "I've Got a Devil in Me" and stuff like that. And what I've started to do on the Bandcamp like subscriber sort of area is to take some of the songs that were supposed to be on these records and kind of finish them.
Oh,
It's like I just posted a song called American Slave, which was definitely from that whole era of that record. And it's very country western. It's got that feel to it.
wow. So we get that by going to the Go Fight Bandcamp at gofight.bandcamp.com and subscribing.
Yeah, the backstage, we're starting to post some of the
Very
songs
cool.
faded out. And like on Tokyo Sekwali, the whole idea was to make a record that sounded like it sounds like many people drumming for the most part. So
Okay.
it is, and almost every song on there has like, five or six drum kits going on, you know,
Wow.
to kind of build
Epic.
everything up. Yeah.
Lord of
And
the
so
Rings.
we've been talking about where to go. Obviously Anthem was really all about some of the anthemic records in the 80s that we really liked, you know.
Okay.
And doing this right now requires obviously that all of us are working separately.
Right.
Like Dan, I'm pretty sure is up in Washington hiding out somewhere.
Well,
Vince is
speaking of
here.
Chicago, we got the Boundless and Jesse Hunt superstars
Oh, nice.
saying what's up. Dan's in Washington.
He is yeah, he's near that giant park where you're always seeing Bigfoot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I feel like every time I cough now, it's like I have to mention to people I'm not sick.
Okay.
I'm
Well, I
just,
mean, your album's sick, but you're not sick. That's good.
go. Yes. But yeah, Dan is out there, and I'm hoping he brings back when he comes back. I'm hoping he brings back some Bigfoot.
Okay. Word.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
The well, speaking of various genres, our mutual friend Matt Slagle, Gothical superstar and Go Fight friend, uh, penned the term electro scuzz, which you've been using.
Yes.
I was curious what that meant to you.
Well, it was weird because I really appreciated him helping us by coming up with the term because our conversation was the fact that like when we had originally talked about starting Go Fight,
Hmm.
I don't know what the beginning of other bands look like. I don't feel like I've been there. When Van and I started Warsaw, I know what we wanted to do, and
Hmm.
we were originally a performance art group, and the music was kind of secondary,
Wow. Okay.
okay. And we actually got signed before we had a full demo
Really?
with Del Warsaw. Yeah, and our whole thing was we wanted to play shows where it was really about building these like visual and sound frameworks, and it was all. But the thing is, it kind of forced us to be a band, because we were on a record label, so we had to be
It does that.
a band. I think with Go Fight we had gotten together, and all the conversations were not really industrial conversations. They were about we wanted to make a record where we were able to talk about transgressive things like sex. It's so strange that modern conversations about alternative sexuality ends up being more transgressive than almost anything else you can talk about.
Hmm.
We wanted to be able to talk about um, uh, uh, people's lives in a edgy, transgressive way. We wanted to be able to talk about politics, but in a way that brought a very fun perspective into it, like a
Okay.
silly perspective sometimes. And I'm sure you can relate to
A
that.
little bit.
And do some things that we couldn't do in Dead Warsaw. Like I couldn't have written "fuck like a movie star" in Dead Warsaw. didn't really, you know.
It would have been a heel turn from All Good Girls or something like that.
Well, we did this song called "Suck It Up"
Uh huh.
a time ago, and it was meant to be a very kind of ridiculous song like that. It's fun to play live, but we've also gotten like more emails from people saying, "I fucking hate that song," than anything else. And my thing is, I have a couple of different. God, I'm gonna sound like a psychopath. I have a couple of different people in my head who write music, right?
Right.
And there's one guy in my head, he has a name and everything, and he writes all of the um, ridiculous sex songs
Okay.
that are just silly and, like Sex Theology, which is just about the Catholic Church and its ongoing abuse. Fuck Like Movie Star, Gay on the Dance Floor, all of these kind
Another
of like,
fucking love song, as remixed by the
yeah,
Gotsicles.
and yeah, and where I think I get you to swear? No, I didn't. I don't think I used. Yeah, you just did it right now. Um, but but that person writes those, and there's a person who writes the more tech ones. But the idea was that altogether, all the songs should feel like anthemic. They should feel
Uh-huh.
big, with big choruses. And the stupid logo is just someone holding their hands up
Okay.
and enjoying the bigness of as it washes over them. And I feel like on a couple songs we got it, you know,
Hmm.
on a couple we didn't, like I think the anthemicness comes out like in songs like Rocket, you know. But I also think like the bigness comes out in songs like Monster
Sure.
and stuff like that. Uh, but I feel like the ability to talk about transgressive issues comes out in songs like Queer the World and stuff like that. So I think we got sort of what we wanted to get. But when we first talked about it, it had nothing to do with instrumentation, had nothing to do with being an industrial band, it had nothing to do with any of that. And so I kind of felt bad about using the industrial term because I felt like it would be like a buyer beware sort of thing. Like here's an industrial record. No, it's not.
Right.
Right. And the last thing I want to do
Oh,
is
I
trick.
know.
Yeah, I don't want to fool people.
Yeah.
I mean, there's this history of these like remarkable industrial records, and I didn't want to necessarily say we belonged there.
Right.
You know, so we were lucky enough to have our own term, Electroscuzz, and now we can say that we are probably one of the one or two best Electroscuzz bands out there.
On the Mount Rushmore for
Maybe
sure.
three. Yeah, definitely with the first four, and I feel good about that. Because that's
Awesome. Well, um, that's pretty. That's pretty awesome. I mean, Divarzo may have been signed to a label before a demo was finished, but you run your own label now. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's so weird that Pulse Black has been around for 15 years, 16 years now, because the whole record label started out of like a really shitty day
Mhm.
where we had, I worked with Sister Machine Gun, and we
Wow.
a whole bunch of songs that I I really care about. I cared about a lot of these songs. I thought they were important. Um, and then we had done this. We had done a song called Wired, which we did a single for, and I felt like they kind of dropped the ball on the single. And again, this is going back and forth with dealing with record labels and them trying to figure out what to do with something,
Mhm.
you know. And they were like, "Oh, it's going to go to radio." No, it's not. No, it's not. And here's the thing: is nobody on radio is going to care about Sister Machine Gun for the most part, right? It's just not going to happen, right?
Right. Unfortunately, but yeah.
But there are a lot of people dancing in clubs and at home who are going to think that that's their favorite record.
Right.
And that's okay. That's how it's supposed to be. And then we did this single called Nothing, and the label had said, "Oh, we're going to go get Onyx and this big like kind of rap band to come in and spend $5,000 to do a remix." And the remix was terrible. It was unusable.
You had Onyx
Yeah,
of Slam fame remix the
yeah,
song and you threw it out. That's
yeah.
amazing.
And so they were like, okay, and then they came back and it was unusable basically, right? So
Okay.
so we went in and did a couple of remixes, and then Chris and I sat there together and did this because he was smoking a lot that night. So we did a song called "Lung," which was my invitation to him to quit smoking,
Okay.
which never happened, by the way. He still smokes. Um, I think so. Last time I saw him, he was still smoking. So we did that, and the record came out. And then we found that the record label had that TVT was in the act of censoring every single version of the song.
What?
you know, and taking out the word fuck and taking out, you know, and
TVT, fucking hardcore industrial label is
yeah.
wanting to take out. Okay,
Well, remember, TVT stands for TV Tunes,
I did
you know.
not know they were always just sort of this in my kind of uh, pre-internet ish. You kind of piecemeal put together this thing called industrial music. They were just they were always like on KMFDM records, and that's what that meant to me. I didn't know it even came from TV Tunes.
Yeah, and the thing is, TVT. I feel like I can. I hate disparaging people in general, but
Sure.
many people who worked for TVT were fantastic people. But TVT as a label itself
Hmm.
was a giant, monstrous mess, you know,
Okay.
and they didn't understand Wax Trax at all. You know, here's this label, Wax Trax, started and run by two gay men, completely immersed in the weirdness of alternative culture.
Yeah.
Absolutely, the least frat environment you could be in,
The best.
you know. And then here's TVT, a label run by frat guys, you know. And they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out, how is this tough? And the thing is, Wax Tricks wasn't really about being tough. It was about being yourself. You
Right.
know,
Right.
it's like Divine wasn't tough.
Yeah, there was, and I've brought this up before, but just to your point, on Industrial Accident, the wonderful Wax Tracks
Yep.
documentary, there's a little part like Pankow was playing in the background. And when there was that screening at the Vic, they showed it before the movie came out, and there's a little part where they're talking about like humor in industrial music, and it's
And I
Groovy
did,
Man talking about like, don't you pick up that I'm just having a blast half the time? I almost
yeah,
stood up and punched the air. I was so energized by that statement. But yes, to your point, completely a weirdo collector.
yeah, exactly. It was a weirdo environment. It was meant to be a weirdo environment where anyone could stand up and saying, "Hey, you know, I'm this," and everyone's like, "Yeah, cool," you know.
Yeah.
And TVT was, I think, they what they were looking for was, where is this tough? How, because you know, there were still a lot of metalheads there,
Hmm.
and they were like, okay, you know, Nine Inch Nails, there's some toughness here. This is tough.
Hmm.
This is, and they worked that record as hard as they could, you know. And TVT, the people who worked there, they tried,
Hmm.
but they still thought that they were making records for the radio, and I think that was a huge disconnect, and it made them, I think, disappointed with what the output was. These weren't records for the radio,
Hmm.
and so I was really upset, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to start a record label entirely for uncensored music, and that's entire what Pulse Black became, right?
Awesome.
And this next year, I'm finally going to do a few things that I've wanted to do forever, which is, you know, put out an NC-17 rated DVD, put out a couple of records that are specifically bannable. You know, I'm finally going to do some of the things I want to do.
Wow, that's
'Cause
amazing.
up till now, I've been putting out music that was uncensored in every way. You know,
Yeah, the uh, I was even a little bit blushed to put down certain parts of the videos. I'm surprised you got away. Uh, there's tits, people. You get tits on Bandcamp. The
and that's kind of great about Bandcamp is that
that's Bandcamp. Thumbs up to Bandcamp. Mordet says Wired was a great track. I'm glad it made it into the Black Box videos. Searing
yeah.
Stars says TVT put out the Mortal Kombat soundtracks. Dan Gunther's in the house. What's up? John Shy says this is good. Grasp Logic is in space. What's going on, man? Just wanted to jump in with the.
Oh
So
yeah.
you're Pulse Black out now. Check it out. Releasing Go Fight albums primarily to this point. Yeah.
Well, you know, and it's been Go Fights and other projects of
Nice.
mine, but coming up this next year, we have a bunch of projects that I
Ooh.
have no part of,
Very
which is
exciting.
fun. And I think it's a response to the fact that people are starting to feel like a lot of the environments they're in are really overly censored and they're overly, you know. And the thing is, right now, there there is no space between art and pornography, right? So my problem is, like, if I wanted to do, like, we did Fuck Like a Movie Star, which was a basically an X-rated video, right?
Right. Right.
And it stays up on YouPorn, you know, and it's taken down
That's
by everything
awesome.
else, right? You know, but the truth is, it's not pornography. I mean, there's a very important point, you know, to the record,
Hmm.
to the song. And that space that exists that a lot of my friends work in, you know, whether they're burlesque dancers or whatever, where they're working in this artistic space that does have some elements of prurience to it, but isn't straight up pornography, there's
Hmm.
nowhere to go. Because obviously, you know, I've got, like, you know, there's a few hundred people on YouPorn that happen to think that that video is a pretty good piece of porn. They're insane. It's not. It's a terrible piece of porn. Um, No, I don't think it's possible to masturbate to that video. Well, the screen is telling you all about the impact of the male erectile dysfunction, industry, and how much money they spend every year. You know, so I don't think that that's a masturbation fodder. And so we have something coming next year that are going to operate in that space. That
Hmm.
I'm really excited by. That space that exists, that really does exist, where art has a prurience but isn't pornography.
Fascinating. That's amazing, man. I'm looking forward to checking that out. I want to. Alex says that SMG record was my favorite album. Uh, Ben Sweatboys are in the house. Says I'm still trying to recover from that Onyx story. I had no idea. We touched on this a bit, and I wanna sort of smash cut back to this because I'm curious. You've mentioned your relationship or connection, if that's a better word, to one Trent Reznor, and I'm not 100% sure what that is. You guys toured together back in the day, yeah?
Oh yeah, yeah, we did. Yeah.
That's amazing. Tell me about touring with Trent Reznor.
Um, well, it's weird because I felt like we were touring with him back when, when we first met. Trent, he was a kind of a street rep for Invisible Records.
Okay.
And someone who was very committed to music and really loved music and was.
Oh no, we lost you for a second. Sometimes these connection hiccups. Oh, okay, okay. Oh, oh, Space didn't want us to hear the Trent Reznor story. Uh, we'll just go back into here. Reconnecting, reconnecting. This is the Space Couch reconnecting song that I'm making up as we go along. Enough of that. And let's do. We'll just chill out for a second. And we'll do a little bit of, you know what? We'll just do that. Oh, well, uh, you know, we shoot the show from space, so this sometimes happens. Thanks everyone for hanging out. And we'll just do a little space maintenance. You can see the white balance auto kick in when I move closer to the space camera. And we'll just do one more pass. And uh, oh, okay, we'll do. I mean, clearly I'm online because we're talking. And we're talking about space stuff. Hey, once we get Jim back, maybe you could can you hear me, Major Jim? Yeah. We had so many. Ian, oh John, thanks so much. I'm sorry that we had our first real outage in. I think we're on episode 88 today, and this is the one that you saw with our first. We've had drops before. That happened maybe once every 12 to 13 episodes. I feel like you need Zorak to be able to play you through these issues, says Dave. Yeah, well, everybody imagine a giant angular cartoon lizard behind me, and then all your problems will stop. Uh, Brent of Probe 7 says the joys of live anything. I think. Uh, I think Jim's connection is like done. Like, I can't bring him up on Facebook or Skype here. Uh, yeah, Space Couch runs on Skype. Let's see. We mastered interstellar travel and light speed and shit, but we still use Skype. Um, mm, 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 mm. You know what we'll do? We'll just we may have to have him back, or we can talk to industry secrets, says Scott. We can talk to the frozen image of Jim Marcus here. Yeah, that was very interesting. How he was just starting to tell the secret backstory of being friends with Trent Reznor before Nine Inch Nails, which is an insane sentence to say. Like it just happens to everybody. But and that's when he cut out. Did Space Comcast screw Jim over? Um, I don't know. Anybody in Chicago? That's where our guest is calling from today. I don't know what the internet situation like is like there. I should say. Let's do this. We'll see. Maybe we'll come back on later today. Oh, hey, got him, everybody. Um, just one sec. Uh, Heyo. Uh, okay. Oh, hey. All right. Thanks for space sticking with me, everybody. Uh, Maybe this is a scene from The Matrix. Check one, check two.
Yeah,
I got you. Let me put you,
sure.
and you're back on. Oh, we're gonna be doing just a little bit of space resizing. We hit an asteroid belt, I think, and now that we've flown through that, we'll probably be okay. Uh, Thanks for sticking around. And
Sorry about that.
oh, hey, you know, we're doing a live streaming show from a couch in space. It's amazing we get it to happen at all. So, if a couple of packets of information bounce off a solar flare every now and then, that's the price
Yeah.
we pay. But Andy's back. Joyce Hunt is here. What's going on, ma'am? Um,
Hey, Joyce.
we were just talking about getting to know Trent Reznor when he was our representative for Invisible Records. That's crazy to me. So he's just like this
We,
guy,
I
you know.
And they didn't have to. They didn't have to take us with on tour. We went on tour on a number of tours at the beginning,
Hmm.
and I think that um, we were both bands were dealing with the fact that we weren't terribly well known in
Hmm.
the places we were going. You know, so we did a lot of shows originally to very few people. Um,
So crazy.
TVT was really committed to making Nine Inch Nails work.
Okay.
They were putting a lot of money into them. They worked that record a lot longer than they would have otherwise, and it's a really good record. I mean,
Hmm.
they had every right to do
You're
that.
talking about
They
that uh, Pretty Hate Machine.
pretty hate machine.
Okay.
Yeah, they worked it over and over again for a long time after.
Hmm.
So at the first, it didn't seem like a whole lot was happening on tour, and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was really fun at the beginning. We got to see some really interesting stuff happen, like. Uh, I think somewhere around the 6 month point or so is where we saw, uh, and this is, I don't want this to sound like ungracious because it's
Hmm.
not. We got to see what happens when someone goes from being kind of a bit of a nerd in school to being the sexiest person on the planet within a few
Right.
months, you know?
Yeah, because that Nine Inch Nails just became the industrial band.
Yeah, and they became the voice of disaffected young people
Right?
everywhere.
It was
You know,
to be I was born in 1980. So to be 13 or whatever when they're just like hitting their zenith and it was unreal. Like
yeah.
he's this guy's
And they
speaking from your head.
and they hit on something really interesting, which was they hit on like if you listen to Pretty Hate Machine and a lot of other nationals that happened
Mhm.
like right after that, they hit on something that was really iconic, which was I feel this way and I don't fucking know why,
Mm.
and I feel like there were a lot of kids out there that were that message was like, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel this way. I don't fucking know why. There's a giant hole in the world, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
fucking know why. Like if you were to line thousands of kids up against a wall and say, "All
Mm-hmm.
right, the world's fucked. You know, you're in trouble,
Mm-hmm.
and life is kind of stupid. Yes or no?" You're going to get like 1,000 yeses,
Right.
and then you start talking about the specifics of what's wrong, and they're going to be like, I don't know. I can't
Mm-hmm.
tell you what's wrong. I just know that this isn't right. And that's the job of kids, which is to notice how fucked the world is,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Interesting.
And so Nice Nails was inspiring generations of kids who were just getting that first taste of the world is fucked and I don't know why, and it's going to take me a long time to figure it out.
So you're on tour with
And
these guys, and it goes to the next level, or the next 10
it was
levels.
it went within the first year. It went pretty much to the next 10 levels.
Okay.
It blew up, and he blew up, and he had to learn how to deal with going from a place where um, you knew everybody who liked you knew you liked you for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to I have no fucking idea why people like me, you know,
Wow. Yeah.
and but
That's a big
but they
hurdle.
all do, and I don't know fucking what they expect out of me, but they all expect something,
Right.
you know.
Wow. Yeah.
Uh,
That's a
But
lot.
there were some really great people on that tour. Like Rich Patrick from Filter
Uh,
was there from the beginning
wow.
too.
Really?
And yeah, and just trying to figure it out too, because here's a bunch of people who just want to get up on. I mean, Rich just wanted to get up on stage and play.
Uh-huh.
You know, and I think the whole thing was way confusing to him.
Wow.
Like
That's
who are all these
wild
people? You
to
know,
hear that, just
and then
because from my perspective, I'm in middle school or something, and "Hey Man, Nice Shot" goes from 0 to 1,000, and
mhm,
just to be that guy where you have a bunch of kids coming up to you and being like, "Tell me the answer, old man." And by old man, I mean you're 22. Like, I don't
yeah,
know. Uh,
yeah. Nobody had any answers at the time too. I mean, Tournament Night Nails, there was a lot of stupid jokes. Like
mhm.
we'd go back and sing "Eyes of a Puppet," and drop big banners behind Nice Nails that were making fun of lyrics, and Trent would bring someone up in a rabbit suit and run after her, and during strikes the body and with a
Really?
banner that said the bunny.
The
You know,
the the
we,
the your erstwhile hit, "Strike to the Body," still an amazing song.
strike to the
Um,
bunny. Apparently,
what's that?
strike to the bunny. Apparently, he
Strike to the
said.
Bunny.
Yeah,
Ian, of a Nine Inch Nails cover band fame, says they toured that record for 3 years. Yeah, well, I did
yeah.
now you know that they used to, uh, chase around Dee Vartzow in a bunny suit. Uh,
Well, what's weird is I don't think that I mean, and I would frequently find myself sitting at a table alone with Trent because the two of us shared in common the fact that we're food victims that
mm.
will eat whatever the waitress brings. Like there's going to be a meal coming tomorrow,
Right.
or in a few hours. It's like there's no reason to complain about it, and we were both pretty annoyed by the fact that people would complain frequently at a Denny's about not getting the right
Mhm.
meal. But it's Denny's, it's
Right.
just go sit there and eat what shows up, and shut up. So we would have time to talk about some of this stuff, and I don't think he really knew why the label was spending so much time and effort on it.
Mhm.
I don't think he really was buying into the idea that he's supposed to now be the sexiest person in the world after a high school career of just being a giant nerd and just liking the things that nobody else liked.
Right.
But it happens in history where somebody likes something that tomorrow everybody else likes, and it pays off, And I'm old enough now to see it pay off, where the computer geek turned around and became, uh, famous and rich
Mhm.
because they just knew 20 minutes before everybody else what was cool.
Right. It's
You
kind
know?
of the pattern.
Yeah,
That is an amazing story.
and you wish you could go back and show every nerd in school, like Trent Reznor's high school pictures, and the fact that he was a relatively quiet guy
Yeah.
who liked what he liked and didn't realize that what he liked was going to blow up so big, you know, and that's okay. That's going to happen. It's going to happen a lot of time,
Well,
you know.
that's such a great segue for something else I wanted to talk about. Speaking of the youth, what's it like to play in a band with your son?
That was kind of my fantasy when I was growing up. I know
Really?
it's weird, but like I was like, I'm gonna have a bunch of kids, and they're all gonna come on tour with me, and they're gonna, they're gonna play shows with me and stuff like that. And my kids uh, came with me on tour a lot. Mission and Coda, they when I was younger, and then we brought Donna into our house, adopted her, and she came to shows and things like that. And I kind of felt like this was starting to happen, and then Mission picked up instruments, and he was good. He was really good,
Yeah, yeah, he is.
and he'll come with us. He plays bass on tour, and when he comes with us, and he's so. He's been doing it for such a long time that he's so magical about it. Like I always wanted to be like, you show up at a show, you set your stuff up, you play a good show, you talk to people, you laugh, you clean up after yourself, and you leave.
Yeah,
It should look like magic, right? And then the promoters are like, oh, I love these guys. They're like magical. They come in and do a few interviews, whatever, and leave. And he does it. He comes in town. He doesn't bitch. He sets his stuff up. He's always the first one there.
awesome.
He plays he plays things note for note. If he's going to make a change, it's going to happen in rehearsl.
Hmm. No,
He
no,
plays note for note. Yeah, and he puts up with me because when I get up on stage, I have no idea what the fuck I'm going to say.
yeah, that happens
You know?
too.
And he puts up with I see some of these like videos of us playing live, and I'm like, I don't even realize I said that. Wow, that was fucked up. We played the double door, and apparently there was a whole big segue at the beginning where I was talking about who the gayest band was,
Hmm.
and apparently it was us because no one else was bringing any gay at all,
Right.
not even a little gay, you know. And I've introduced us as Ass to Ass. I introduced us as a different band name every single time. So he puts up with that too, which is fantastic because I don't have any clue what I'm going to say on stage.
Okay. Yeah. Totally.
And
And
none of it makes sense.
so that's amazing that your mission provides such a backbone for your own sort of free form,
Hey,
if you will, your own free state. Um,
oh, he fits in so well too. Like we were on this the last little mini tour thing that we did was just for fun. It was just a few dates, and we were sitting in a car, me and Dan and Mission, and the car breaks down. Dan and Vince and Vision. The car breaks down, and we're just laughing, and we grab our stuff, and we go sit at a buffet for a while, and then we had to cancel the show because we couldn't get there until John Shy showed up with a car to drive us. So we went to the hotel and conned them into letting us use the pool all night, you know.
okay.
And so the four of us are just floating in the pool and talking and drinking and eating what's left over from the buffet. And I'm like, this is what touring is. The worst day on a tour where you cancel the show, you're just hanging out with your friends
That's pretty
in a pool.
amazing, man. Yeah. I've
This is
had that experience with Matt Slago, who came up with Electro Skies, but yeah, that's just chilling with your son and your buddies in a pool in a hotel.
and your friends. I remember with going playing this ridiculous show with Ice and Tilla, out in the middle of like Upper Peninsula, Michigan, somewhere where no one. We had the second stage, so we could do whatever we wanted. We were lighting fires. We could do anything because
Okay.
it's like it was a second stage, and like the people who ran the thing didn't know what the hell we were doing, you know. And so we're like, yeah, do you want to play for 2 hours? Yeah, let's play for 2 hours. So afterwards, we're just hanging out again at the pool, and we brought in a ton of alcohol for anyone who wanted it, and and I'm like, this is what to me music has always meant, which is the worst day as a musician is hanging out with your friends, and talking shit and just having a good time in the pool somewhere.
Very cool. In the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, no matter where you are, and sometimes, I've been on tour before. Like I remember the second Nine Inch Nails tour we did, it was just so pervasive that I remember waking up and having. I talked to Lee, who was playing with Nine Inch Nails, and with um, Chris Hall from Stepping Westward, who was playing with us, and
whoa.
like,
Awesome. Okay. Okay.
and
Cool.
none of us could figure out what city we were in.
That
We were
happens.
like, we can't figure out what state we're in. And so we start walking out of the hotel and we're like, I still don't get it. I don't
Hmm.
get where we're at. But we forgot about it. And you realize when you're in a state, there's very few clues as to what state you're actually in.
Can be.
It's not like people come up to you and say, hey, dude, we're in Florida.
Right.
Doesn't work that way, And so I feel like the worst day is like you're with your friends. You have no idea where you fucking are, I remember being on tour with having James Woolley with us on tour, and he was like um, a a romance magnet. Every woman in the world wanted to hang out with him and fly him to the next show and
Wow.
whatever. And it was just ridiculous though, because he'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna fly to San Diego. I'll see you guys there. These three girls want they have a private jet. They want to bring me there." But it was all those are the worst days, and that's why I think when he did that show in Germany with Nine Inch Nails, and they opened for Guns N' Roses, and the audience hated them, and
Wow.
it was so hard because James was so used to being loved by everybody. Everybody loved James, no matter who you were. You loved James, right? He was
Okay.
like, he was beautiful, but he was also like the nicest guy in the world, and everybody adored him. So he was on stage for the very first time,
He's in Nine
being
Inch
hated.
Nails.
Yeah, James
Okay.
Woolley, he played Nine Inch Nails too.
Okay.
Yeah, but he played with us before as
Right,
well.
just in the for this as far as the story goes, he's in Nine
Oh, that's
Inch
part of the
Nails.
story. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I'm jumping
Yeah.
all over.
No,
But he was
it's all
playing with
good.
Nine Inch Nails, and they were opening for Guns N' Roses, and the audience in Germany started throwing like sausages at them because they hated them. Which I guess that's a thing that happens when you're in Germany. And I'm on the phone with James, and he was like, I thought he was joking, but he starts like breaking down. He's like, they threw meat at us, you know, and it was like I think it was the first time that people didn't like James. It was like it was a huge wake up call that he's on stage and he's used to being in these bands and everyone loves you and you get off stage and everyone loves you and you're in the tour bus and everyone loves you, you know, and suddenly people are throwing meat at him.
Well, I gotta drop this gem from Neil Dobson. That's the worst. But I want to get this in because I'm sort of fascinated, having been there at the start, really, of this thing we call industrial music up until now. What sort of changes or evolutions or de-evolutions might you have witnessed, and what would you like to see ideally happen going forward?
Um, I you don't really have. I'm happy about the fact that like this thing that we have
Hmm.
um, has never really been about money.
Hmm.
And I'm really really happy about that. Like
Totally.
it's never really been about that. It's been about like I remember the very first time talking to Chris Connolly about doing something on our record, and like there's never been a conversation about money. It's never been a conversation about who gets what billing or whatever. It's just been about making something cool, and this is an entire group of musicians. I thought from the beginning who grew up immune to that,
Hmm.
to the appeal of selling out and making money and whatever. And I feel like asking Al Jorgensen to come play a guitar solo on a song and have him come back and just do way more than he thought he would do. And it's like these weren't people who cared about money. And I feel the same way right now. It's like, you know, the that's the one thing that's been pervasive, and I would be so happy if that never went away.
Awesome. What a great answer, man. Oh, if correct me if I'm wrong, but I have the sense that you like a comic book or two. If you were a superhero, what might your powers be? And if you had any kryptonite type stuff, what that be?
I guess I've always been really attracted to the superheroes like Blue Marvel, for example, where uh, the whole idea of him is like he doesn't have an iconic power.
Okay.
The whole idea is that hey, we're not really sure what powers he has. Like I really love that. I feel like waking up in the morning and feeling like, oh, you know what? Maybe I can do that. I don't
That's
know. I've never tried.
okay. Not only was I not expecting a Blue Marble reference, that's an amazing answer.
But like, you got like here, like the Sentry. Like, what do we think the Sentry can't do except maybe be sane? Have a sane conversation. But like, we don't know what he can and can't do. And
Hmm.
I always thought that seemed more reasonable to me because like imagine being a superhero now in this world,
Hmm.
and you wake up one day and you can climb walls. Like Peter Parker, gets bit by a spider. You can
Hmm.
climb walls. You can do some other things a spider can do. Shoot webbing out of your butt. Which, if we were being real, that's what would be
That's
happening.
what you'd have
You
to.
know, yeah, and I think it would be a whole different comic if that had happened from the beginning.
Not without its
Entirely,
audience, but
Yeah,
different.
there'd be an audience for that. But there's that sense of like his powers had been evolving for a long time too, and then there was a period of time where he was shooting these little things,
Oh yeah,
when he was the spider
spider
avatar or whatever.
tracers. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And I think that like the very first thing I would think is when is this going to go away?
yeah.
You
why?
know, it's
Why would
like,
you think that?
well, because one little spider, radioactive spider bite, is going to permanently do this. It doesn't seem right. I mean, you have to get vaccinated for the flu every year.
Hmm.
Why would one spider bite
Okay.
last the your entire life? One radioactive spider bite. So you always imagine things are going to go back to normal. So being a superhero where normal means not even knowing what's going to come next, but it's always something expansive and good would be amazing. Would be remarkable. You know?
Oh yeah, that's that is. Oh man, that's one for the highlight reel, dude. That was such a good answer. Um,
My favorites, I have to tell you, though, I am a really big superhero fan
yeah,
because, like, when I was growing up, that was the only place where people really talked about right and wrong for real.
yeah. It
You know?
a lot of at the time subversive, if you like, conversations got moved into that realm.
Yeah. Like I remember when this was a conversation I had with some friends when I was younger. When you're reading a superhero comic, it's like they'll show Nazis getting their asses kicked.
Mhm.
They'll show that Nixon was the bad guy. They'll show these things, but you watch the news, and the news, the news was very cagey at the time about the fact that Nixon is a bad person.
Mhm.
You know, and comics were very much more like, hey, you know what? We're here to talk about what's right and wrong,
Right.
and let's talk about this particular thing right here that could be good, could be bad in different situations. I feel like comics were a very complicated discussion about morality
Mm.
where the newspapers weren't.
Oftentimes, yeah, from what I understand, I mean, I wasn't around, but like when, in the 60s or whatever, but like when the Fantastic Fours is taken off and showing real pathos where it's not
Yeah,
our boys are going to war. Not that was in the 60s, but like it's in terms of an evolution there. No, I totally agree. Um,
you see it when kids would pick up, like kids who read Spider-Man, their parents would be like, well, they'd see their families driving by a homeless person doing nothing, and why don't we go pick that homeless person up? And the mom would be like, well, we don't really have the time and stuff like that, and we shouldn't do it. And all the kid can think about is Spider-Man,
hmm.
and with great power must come great responsibility, and like they have a car and they're able to do it and they don't do it.
Interesting.
you know and I feel like comic books is where kids started to look at their parents and be like, I don't know if my parents are good people.
Yeah, that is a fascinating insight because now we have sort of the sounding board of what's good and bad, and yeah, we dress it up with capes and tights often, but this the morality, if you want to use that, is still there. The
Yeah.
I want to just we are on a rogue flight path out here in space. I'm going to bring this flying couch back on into the station quickly, but you are in the trailer for the as of yet upcoming the history of industrial music the Chicago way.
Yeah.
Very excited to see it, not only because you're in it, but having spent a great deal of my life in Chicago, I kind of want to revisit home. What can we expect from you, and is there anything? It's been in production for a while, so if there's anything you want to add last minute, you can do that here on Space Couch.
It has, and you know what's weird about this is that I feel like obviously Chicago industrial has gone through a lot of phases. It's been a very um, it's been like a crazy journey. I'm not sure if I'm cutting out or not.
You're
Um,
fine. It
but
works.
at the end of the day, I think that the same kind of passion that drives people to make these documentaries is what drives people to like invest and make music like this here. And I'm just really glad that that keeps happening. That people
Awesome.
are investing.
We have a little bit of space gas left in the tank, just enough for you to tell us what is next for the mighty Jim Marcus. Mecha Disco is still in production, um, but we'll be on the lookout for that. Anything else we should keep our ears to the ground for? Or
Well, speaking of Chicago music, I'd co-written a documentary called Legacy, which talked about the beginnings of house music, which Van and I were involved in acid tracks and making records at the beginning of house. And
Really?
what I want to do is, and over the next year, we're going to see a lot more about this period in history where we have a lot of stuff coming out that's talking about some early house music and where house music came from and everything like that, and the Chicago roots. So,
Time to jack indeed. The Is that out? Legacy?
Legacy is out. It's going to be aired again on WTTW's aired here on Channel 11. All through Black History Month, we're going to see it there and a few other places.
Okay, so
There's
we
some
we can't
follow
go
up
out and like
stuff.
pick it up right now, can we?
No, but there's some follow up work coming to it that's going to talk about the origins of house music here.
Okay.
And I think a lot of stuff is going to surprise people. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. We will keep a lookout for. Wow, am I glad I asked that question? I'm sorry about House, man. Like the Legacy is coming out. Mecha Disco will catch you in the upcoming History of Industrial Music documentary, um, and 9,000 more things. You seem to have your hands in a lot of pies. The To say nothing of this wonderful appearance on Space Couch. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Which I
Uh,
appreciate. Thank you.
Ian Stair jumps in with Jim. Your remix of 823's "Welcome to Apocalypse" killed it. So there you go.
Oh, thank you. That's a great song. You really can't fuck that song up.
This is Brian for Space Couch, for Jim for Go Fight Divartsow, 10 other billion things, saying call the spaceships to Davenport, prepare for Divanarchy and interface with a couch in space, Space Couch. Out! Jim, this was such a good episode. Thank you.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry we dropped out in a second.
Oh, you know what? That we got it back. We faced our adversity and triumphed.
Well, thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is, I'll shoot you the links to the podcast and stuff. I rebroadcast the audio. And, dude, thank you for your time. Let me know if I can, help promote anything on this vector of yours in the
Thank you, man.
future.
Well, you rock, man. Thanks a lot. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, back at you, man. Bye.
Okay. Adios.